Beirut is an American indie folk project formed in 2006 in Santa Fe. It's effectively singer-songwriter Zach Condon and a loose cast of musicians. Some of them are fairly constant, but some are more transient. At the time of recording this introduction, which is in the year 2025, there have been 7 studio albums, and the most recent being in this year, 2025. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of The Flying Club Cup by Beirut, which was released in 2007 and was their second album. And it's my first encounter with Beirut. And I'm just quickly going to do a sidebar here. I occasionally do these weird off topic comments, which is in the introduction that I did for Beirut, which I've just recorded. I felt compelled to say Beirut is rather than Beirut are. So I struggle with this in terms of bands. So let's take the band Queen, for example. There are often on the Wikipedia pages, it will say Queen is a band. And I would say Queen are a band. I think that there's some of the perceived wisdom seems to be that if it's a plural name, so like the Beatles are a band, but Queen is a band, maybe. And I tend to feel like I have to go are because it's a group of people. However, Beirut is basically based around one person, and it's a project rather than a band. So a project becomes an is in my head. Yeah, I'd love to know if anybody else feels strongly on this. I only feel slightly strongly because it's something I encounter all the time that I'm having to talk about. Let's get back to this album. So, if I were to ask the question, what do you get if you take Rufus Wainwright, strip away the lavish orchestra, and replace them with an eclectic collection of acoustic instruments, and then make all the songs waltzes? Well, I think the answer would be pretty much this album. And maybe that would give you an idea of what it's like if you know Rufus Wainwright, which I only know from having done these reviews. So possibly if you do, that gives you a better idea than indie folk, which is the label that has been given by various people. Now, we've got a lot of instruments going on here, which is it's great. I'm just going to name some: accordions, ukulele, brass, strings, bouzouki, mandolin, lots of other stuff, including conch shells, Farisa organ, and glockenspiel. It's a bit like a multi-instrumentalist fever dream. Excuse me. And Zach Condon is a multi-instrumentalist, and I'm guessing that's what's going on here. So I did read, apparently, he had decided to branch out from using ukulele as his go-to for stuff. And so he's used all sorts of things. But he's got a lot of other instruments in here as well, playing things. It's almost circusy at times, or burlesque, or maybe imagine this being performed in a house of ill repute in Paris in the 1930s or something like that. It's mostly in 3/4, which is a very French rhythm, and particularly the way that it's done. We'll come back to France. One song has got a Latin rhythm, so most of it is this kind of papa French chanson feel. So apparently he was listening to a lot of Jacques Brel and other French chanson at the times and wanted to do something that was inspired by that. It doesn't have the size and the grandeur of stuff like Jacques Brel and who did I mention, Rufus Wainwright, or somebody like what's his name, Scott Walker, who's not French. But it does have some of the feel of that. And it's a love song to France, this album. So each track is apparently about a place in France. Some of them are named for the places, some of them are not named for that. But the songs are in English, so it's accessible. The general themes of the songs, by the way, are nostalgia and longing and stuff like that. Uh, his voice, he's got a nice voice. I did enjoy it. He's got what I call a sing-through voice, and not as much as some other people. Just do a quick, really bad demonstration of that. That a lot of people, when they're singing, they go, "I should be so lucky," or something like that. But a sing-through voice would sing through all the syllables without those gaps in between. So it'd be, "I should be so lucky," and it sounds a bit more formal. And his voice is a bit like that, more so than other people's. And as I said, his voice reminds me of Rufus Wainwright, but not as strong, or as not as much huge presence as Rufus has, but still good presence with his singing. It's an interesting feeling album, and I enjoyed it quite a lot. I didn't know what to expect. I saw the name Beirut. I find it hard now because I've looked at the lists that I'm using to review through so often that some of the names that I didn't know before I looked at the list are now familiar to me just because they're on the list. But I didn't know what I expected Beirut to be, but I expected maybe it was going to be some kind of, um, anti-establishment indie rock. And no, it's this. It's very different. So I certainly didn't expect something like this. So I liked it a lot. Uh, but I'd love to know what you think of this album. So please do share your thoughts and impressions of this album with me in the comment section. But that's it from me for now.